Welcome to State of Wellbeing, a podcast from South Dakota State University. The State of Wellbeing is a holistic well-being podcast with the goal of supporting the campus community as we strive to be a growing, high-performing, and healthy university. Well, hi everyone. Welcome back to State of Wellbeing, our holistic well-being podcast. I'm Caitlin Walters, the Wellbeing Specialist.
Hi, and I'm Shari Landmark, the Chief Wellness Officer, joining Caitlin today.
So today's episode, we wanted to kind of revisit our idea of well-being, our dimensions of wellness, and just kind of touch base again on what this podcast is all about. And maybe for those of you who are new to listening, kind of refer back to some older episodes and then talk a little bit about what we have coming up.
Yeah, the new Dimensions of Wellness kind of model that we've put together really came together with the new alignment of university well-being through student affairs, which we're really excited about, something that an area or unit that really can touch everyone on campus, both students, faculty, staff, and actually even the community of Brookings outreach there. So we're really excited. And our new mission for that, which I'm going to say, is empowering individuals to achieve a holistic sense of health and well-being through robust programs, opportunities, and resources that engage the South Dakota State University campus community. And that is something that we're going to kind of work through the next 7 years through our strategic plan through the university and hopefully bring a little more well-being to our campus.
Yeah, and for those who haven't heard about the new strategic plan, I think well-being is a real central piece to all of that. And we talked about this in our first episode of this podcast, but I think, knowing that that's a huge priority for the university, I'm really excited for what we've been working on and what we'll continue to work on.
Absolutely. I think it's just going to get better.
So for those who haven't heard previous episodes, I think going back and checking out any of the episodes we've recorded already, some of our really popular ones have been anxiety, our resiliency episode. There are a lot of episodes that we've recorded that have great information on resources on our campus, really wonderful conversations between experts and just people who are really passionate about the content that they're talking about.
Yeah, and even just getting some kind of tips or tricks that you can maybe learn from or take with you when you're in a moment of, whether you're feeling burned out or time that you need to be that resilient person in the room to help you through that.
So, Shari, you gave us our mission and what we're kind of striving for with university well-being. Do you want to walk us through what we've defined well-being as?
Absolutely. So well-being and wellness, you've probably heard throughout, the last decade or two, but well-being is really kind of what we're focusing on. So we define well-being as an optimal and dynamic state that allows people to achieve their full potential. So that really comes from a few of our national organizations that we work with through the University Wellbeing Department, and that comes from NERSA, ACHA, and NASPA, and just some really popular and really founding associations for us to work off of. Wellness, however, is more of like those individual things that we work on. Looking at maybe more of those specific dimensions of wellness, as we've stated, but that well-being is really bringing all those together and feeling that well-being overall.
Yeah, I think that's a really great definition of those two. I think it's important to define it too because right now it feels like the word wellness or the word well-being is kind of one of those buzzwords that we see everywhere, right? We're hearing about wellness influencers and it's one of those words that kind of gets tacked on as this is a wellness thing. But I think knowing what the actual definition is and why we value it so much and moving away from kind of the like buzzy part of it into what we're actually using it for here on this campus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to kind of maybe dig into our new dimensions of wellness that we've formed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want a visual representation of this, you can find it on the Healthy University and Beyond webpage. I think that's really nice to kind of look at a picture of it if you have the time, if you're not, driving or busy right now. But we re-envisioned it. Typically you see the wellness wheel, which is a big circle. And I think that that's a great representation too. But we've kind of reimagined this into more, I guess I would call it maybe an arrow shape.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about why we chose that shape?
Yeah, and I even think too as a puzzle. So you'll see the 8 kind of in a moving forward, from left to right as you're reading, but also knowing that those pieces can be leading at any time in your life. So, you might have that physical dimension or digital out front that like, I'm rocking this right now. And you might have some that are kind of falling behind, right? But it can move to the front at any time and switch around. So I think that's one thing that's really important. It was very intentional that, life ebbs and flows, and there's sometimes we're rocking things and sometimes we're not, and it's okay, but our strategy is to hopefully pull it all together and being able to feel truly that sense of well-being and confidence at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got our 8 dimensions. We're going to go through them and kind of just talk about what we've defined those dimensions as, and then also identify some resources. They're not going to be every resource, but we are going to identify a few resources for each of these and just kind of talk through those. So the first one is environmental. I always think of environmental as kind of a two-way relationship, right? It's not only how I relate to my environment and how I contribute to keeping it clean or safe or something that brings me peace, but then also what my environment brings to me. And so it's that like the comfort, the connection to the environment, what maybe spending some time outside, just like decompressing can do for you. So our definition that we've kind of set for that is that environmental wellness is recognizing the role that one plays in preserving, protecting, and improving the environment. Environmental wellness includes the sense of safety, comfort, and connection with the physical surroundings.
I think that's a really great definition because I think everyone thinks environmental of, like, let's save the world and recycle, right?
And that's part of it.
It is part of it, absolutely. But, or it's, when you are hiking, the term leave no trace behind, right? Meaning when you walk into the woods, you should keep it the same as when you leave. Don't litter, don't pick things, just leave the natural inhabitants how it is. But also that sense of safety. And do I feel safe in my environment with either just the physical part or with the people I'm with? Do I feel good and safe with those people around me and those connections, right? And a lot of that, of course, happens on campus. For the students, we're going to be moving 4,000 students onto campus here next weekend. And so, being able to be safe in that environment is really important.
And not only safe, but also like comfortable, right? And so does my dorm room, have I set it up in a way that makes me feel comfortable? Are my roommate and I on the same page on how we've laid out our room? Are we on the same page of what we do with our clean / maybe dirty clothes? Like that was a big piece for me with my roommate, was clothes wore everywhere. And it was really stressful. And it actually made it really hard to focus and be present in that room because the room was just very scattered, I would say. And so just making sure that you're considering how you're setting up your space and making it comfortable, having those conversations with your roommate. Hey, this is what I'd really like to see for our space here.
Absolutely. One area outside, but yet still on campus, is McCrory Gardens, and that is an amazing space. And as students and faculty, you can show your ID and you can get in. You can bring a couple friends or family members with you too, but it's just amazing. You don't have to be a big green thumb person to go over there and appreciate all the kind of cool things out there, which I think I encourage, I guess not think I do, I encourage you to go out and check that out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. I also think if we were looking for the outside and going outdoors, Outdoor Rec through our Miller Wellness Center offers outdoor gear rentals at really reasonable prices for both students and the community faculty staff. So making sure you're looking into that. They've got bikes, they've got boats, different types of canoes and kayaks, camping gear, all of that stuff to get you outside and get you connected to the wilderness or to the outdoors.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to take the next one, emotional wellness, and that's really the ability to understand your own feelings, accepting your limitations, achieving emotional stability, and becoming comfortable with your own emotions. And I think that's just really important to kind of be able to accept your limitations. That one kind of gravitates to me. Like, I always want to try to help everyone out or maybe please people, but it's okay sometimes to say no to things. And being able to back off and say, you know what, this is maybe just too much for me. I don't want to, push myself, my boundaries too much, and being able to recognize that. And that's not easy to do.
I think sometimes emotional wellness gets simplified down to I just always have to feel happy, like I'm going to feel good. And I think that can sometimes kind of veer into that toxic positivity of like everything's always good. If you feel bad, just move through it and let's be good again. But I think it's really that like recognition of how you're how you're actually feeling, what emotions you're going through, and not being afraid to like feel the like wide range of emotions that we actually go through. We're not trying to always be just happy and we're going to ignore all this other stuff. So really being able to process all of those emotions in the range that you're feeling.
And I do think, in understanding when is a good time to process or how to process that, maybe if you're upset with your roommate, right, that maybe isn't cleaning, maybe step back and think about how you might want to approach it instead of, kind of blow up at the person. So, and that's really with that emotion too of really understanding how you're feeling, how you're going to react. And I think that, as I say, that 24-hour rule, right, is, don't send that email right away either. Maybe wait on that. But we have some super great resources on campus, both for our students and our faculty staff. The students, we have our counseling center located in our Miller Wellness Center, and they have done amazing things. And this next year, they're really going to try to get out on campus, so you're going to see them more, whether they're tabling or presentations. And I think that's going to be really helpful for people to be able to kind of, once again, see what's out there, kind of feel a little better about sharing their emotions and being comfortable with that.
Yeah, and we had an episode earlier on in the podcast focused specifically on the stepped care model through the counseling center, and that was still, a half a year into it, but I think what we've seen is just that model is working and students are able to get in and get the support they need in a really timely manner, and I think that's really important. We also have the Employee Assistance Program, which is a really great program for our employees to seek that emotional support. I'd really highly recommend that folks look into that. Some really great resources in there as well. You can reach out to our HR specialist because they have a ton of information on what's available through the EAP.
Right. And I think that, too, kind of goes back to our burnout and compassion fatigue podcast that we have recorded previously, I should say. But once again, that's like saying no and not getting to that point of burnout.
And we did actually have a podcast episode that was completely dedicated to the EAP. So scroll back just a few episodes and you should be able to find that as well.
Awesome.
So our next one is financial, and I know you've been working really hard on this. This has been a big focus of ours because we know that students and just people in general are stressed when it comes to our finances. And so financial wellness has been a really big focus for us moving forward. It's something we'd really like to see, providing more resources on campus for students in that area. So our definition for financial wellness is the ability to meet current and ongoing financial obligations, develop positive financial behaviors to mitigate stress, and prioritize future financial security.
I think that campus, we have a great financial aid office as well as our career service office, right, to find jobs for students to help them better afford college, and I think that helps. But we also have our Jack's Cupboard for those that are students that are food insecure, that need a little something that might, have to wait till that next paycheck to fill their cupboard a little bit, and that's available in Ben Rifle Hall here on campus, which is great. But finances, it goes on and on. Whether you're saving, where should I save my money? How should I do this? Car insurance, health insurance. It can be very stressful. Groceries, as we all know, and gas. Those have gone up the last few years, and we can't really change that. So, people learning how to budget their money and whether to, set aside what is a necessity and then what's maybe mad money, which is fun, that you go out and just have fun with it. But there's so many things and so many parts of it, which I really think that we need to help our students understand that.
Yeah, it's funny. In some of my wellness presentations that I do, we do an assessment on the dimensions. And I had someone recently say to me, "Oh, I'm really surprised that my financial wellness was so high because I'm pretty broke right now." We were kind of talking through, it's not that you have a lot of money that means you're financially well. It means that you have a good relationship, you have a plan, you're not letting your finances really stress you out, and you're not overspending. And so we kind of talked through what that actually meant, but he was very surprised that his financial wellness was actually really high despite, you're in college, you're not making a lot of money right now. Maybe you're really focused on being a student. But having that plan, I think, and like the future thinking with that.
Right. And that's where I really mentioned the career services is looking they'll help you as you're job searching, knowing your cost of living in South Dakota versus your cost of living in, California or North Carolina is very different for maybe the same salary that, that number, that magic number that they say that, you're going to make a year. But really, once you kind of do that digging and seeing that state income tax or, all of that, what kind of 401k or what are they offering in the long term, I think is really important to learn. And that's a great thing. We have that right here on campus.
Yeah, that's a great resource.
All right, we're going to move into digital wellness, and this is one of our new ones, and we are super excited about it. But it's really the ability just to manage and influence the influence of all the digital technology on our overall well-being. It includes creating sustainable habits or technology use in one's daily life. There's a statistic out there that people pick up their phones 84 times a day.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, maybe go check in your settings how many times you picked your phone up today. You might be surprised.
Caitlin and I had this discussion. I'm like, I don't even know how to check that. So I did, and I was under, so I was good.
There's actually a really great presentation that the Counseling Center does called Breaking Up with Your Phone. And so if you're interested in having them come present to your group or, in your classroom, I would certainly suggest checking into that, because just learning some of the harms that excessive social media use and excessive phone use can cause. I mean, we know that it's not just emotional harm, it's also physical harm. It's causing us to hunch over. There's some potential research out there that we're developing, some changes in our neck anatomy because of how we're looking at our phones constantly. It also affects your sleep if you're looking at a screen. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many of us are scrolling on our phones before we fall asleep because it's that I'm ready for bed, but not quite. I want to just look at my phone, see what I missed throughout the day. It's really keeping us up at night, and it's impacting our quality of sleep. And we also know that it's impacting our social wellness. We're not as willing to go out and meet people face to face. We're kind of more connecting to them via Instagram or via, TikTok. And it's that parasocial relationship. It's not actually like that in-person relationship. So I think it's just really important to assess our digital wellness. And that's why I was really excited that we added this, because it gives us some focus and something to work on moving forward.
Well, and I think that amount of time we can waste on, I'm guilty. I can sit down, and if I start kind of scrolling, then it's like, oh my gosh, where did that half hour or hour go? And so it's very time wasting as well. But I challenge those listeners out there. The next time you go to a restaurant, just kind of look around. Is the person next to you or the table next to you, are they actually having a conversation, or are they on their phones? And so I challenge you to do that, but then also whoever you're with, put your phones down in the middle of the table and leave them there and see how it goes. And it's very interesting. Usually once one person picks up their phone, the other person will too. So kind of a little research project for you the next time you go out to eat.
I've heard some challenges where whoever picks up their phone first, they actually have to pay the bill for everybody else. So I think that's a really great incentive to not pick up your phone, right?
That is a good one. I like it. I could win, I think.
Probably. So our next dimension is social. And this we've defined as the willingness to interact with others, including those who have different backgrounds, perspectives, and opinions. Social wellness includes the ability to maintain healthy relationships by supporting and connecting with and understanding others. And I think this one's really important. Just, as we know, we're in a time where loneliness is an epidemic. We've had the Surgeon General tell us that. He's said that loneliness is really dangerous to our health. And so the ability to connect to people in person, to meet new people, to put yourself out there, I think is really, really important. And it's a dimension that, to me personally, I always want to work on this one. And I always recommend to other people to work on it as well.
Right. And this is where the dimensions of wellness and that well-being really all connects, because this one can go back to the digital, right? If you're just on your phone the whole time, you don't understand how to interact with other people. But also, I really like about this is just learning about other people with other backgrounds and perspectives, right? Just because you don't maybe have the same perspective doesn't mean like you can't be friends. And I think you just need to be open-minded about that, and you might learn something. And I just think that is something that's been kind of missing lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I also think of social wellness as the ability to, set healthy boundaries in your relationships and have maybe some of those more being comfortable having those challenging conversations with others without letting it completely ruin the relationship, right? I think that also goes into social. We often think like it's just about making friends, but it's also about maintaining healthy friendships, not just, being out there and putting yourself out there, but actually really doing the work to like grow those relationships in a healthy way.
Right. They say you kind of turn out, act like the 5 closest people you hang around, right? So, if you're like maybe not feeling the best about yourself, and maybe look around your little circle and see maybe if there's some, as I call them, negative Nellies out there, and put yourself in maybe a better social situation.
Yeah. So some resources I think that are great on campus would be the Miller Wellness Center. Again, we've got group fitness classes. I often talk about in Pilates classes. Sometimes there's so much talking and like giggling going on that you can't even hear the instructor. And I think that's really beautiful, right? That's the beauty of group fitness classes. It's that social engagement. You're sitting next to someone and maybe we're doing a funny move and we're all laughing, but we're getting to know other people too at the same time. Also, our sport clubs and intramural sports, those are really great ways to meet new people, maybe doing an activity that you really enjoy or learning a new activity. I'd also plug just Jack's Club Hub in general.
For sure.
What are there? Over 200 clubs on campus.
Easy.
Some different ones would include like the Taylor Swift Society, if you're really into Taylor Swift. It doesn't have to just be, very specific to something you're either studying or like a sport. It could be a huge range of opportunities out there to get engaged with other people.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be your major. It could just be something you're interested in, and meeting those different people, I think, is a great way through Jack's Club Hub for sure.
I think that the Office of Multicultural Affairs and Accessibility also does a great job of connecting folks with other people with different perspectives, and they just have a lot of great opportunities to engage with other people and to learn a little bit more just about putting yourself out there in the world and how to engage with people that might not see the world the same way as you do.
Yeah, and that space upstairs in the Union is just so great and welcoming. And I'd like to see more students go up there and use that space for sure.
Do you want to talk about physical wellness?
Wow, sure. This is so new to me. No, this is, of course, back, well, I won't even say how long ago, but it was kind of the mind, body, spirit was really kind of the triangle of wellness back in the day. I'll say I won't age myself too much, but physical always seems to show up, right? And it's really just having a healthy body and maintaining that through the good nutrition, but regular exercise, sleep again, that's coming up, but also avoiding those harmful habits. And that also includes ability to make informed and responsible decisions about your health and seek out medical care and prevention for that. It's not just when you're sick you should go to the doctor. You should be going on an annual basis to just get checked out. You're never too young to have high blood pressure or high cholesterol. As I say, you can't pick your parents. So sometimes no matter what you do, it's like you can't avoid something. But I think that's where physical, of course, moving your body, American Heart Association says 150 minutes a week, right? That's 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Just getting your heart rate up. You can do that walking, biking, whatever. You don't have to get out there and run or swim. You can lift some weights, but it's really that honing in and listening to your body. And, if you're not feeling well, go see someone. And as I mentioned before, is really making sure that you're going on an annual basis to make sure that you just check in right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will have an episode coming up that talks about our health clinic, but I think obviously our health clinic is a great resource for physical health, physical wellness on campus. They've got practitioners in there that can support you in just kind of checking in if you have an area of concern, or maybe you just want to go in and see someone just on that annual basis. That's a great place to start. What other resources do we have on campus that you like to recommend?
We have our community standards coordinator, and she can really help with some drug and alcohol abuse if you're needing to work through some of those situations, and just whether it's, I want to back off, or I feel like I do harmful things when I'm maybe under the influence. But she can help counsel you through and help you through maybe some of those situations if you do feel like you're kind of going down a wrong path. And for our faculty and staff, that's also where the EAP comes in, where you can have some counseling sessions and meet with someone regarding those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, we still have, the Miller Wellness Center, which I like to say, they have something for everyone. And so it's not about like, oh, I have to do this specific exercise that I see on TikTok. It seems to be very popular. It's finding some kind of physical activity that you enjoy, that's going to keep you engaged, and that you're just going to like actually look forward to doing, right? Because there's no sense in doing something that you really despise, but finding something that you just really find joy in doing. For me, when I was in college, that was rock climbing. It was just like so fun. I loved that it was a whole physical, like my whole body was involved. It was also part of my brain. It was like a puzzle. So that's my like shameless plug to the climbing wall, because I think it's great. But yeah, finding some kind of like physical activity that you like to engage in.
Absolutely. And there's so many opportunities even within Brookings too. The Dakota Nature Park is amazing to go out there, and whether it's you're going on the bike track or just walking around the ponds or going fishing, but some really great ways to be active and physical out there too.
So we also have mindful wellness, and so this is the sense that life is meaningful and has a purpose. The individual is part of something larger than oneself. Mindful wellness includes ethics, values, and morals that guide us and give us positive meaning and direction to life. And again, I think really that like first part of it, it's being part of something that's bigger than just you. I think that's a huge piece to mindful wellness. I've had people say even just like having the feeling of gratitude. I think that's a really wonderful way to think about your mindful wellness. And so what are you grateful for? Doing a gratitude list at the end of the day instead of scrolling your phone while you're trying to fall asleep.
I always think of the golden rule, right? Treat others like you want to be treated. But that's really where that ethics and values come in, and your morals, and hoping to kind of move you in that forward trajectory, right? And then hopefully instill that on other people, and being, once again, one of those 5 people that you are constantly around, and kind of radiate that positivity, or helping people find their purpose in life. And I think that's hard for people. Like, what is my purpose? And being able to kind of sit back and reflect on that is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And I think mindful is kind of a broad term, but it could include anything from, joining a religious-based club. We have those again in Jack's Club Hub. Maybe it's participating in yoga, which we have at the Miller Wellness Center. Maybe it's going to McRory Gardens and finding your favorite meditation spot and just sitting and meditating quietly by yourself. I think there's a lot of different ways to approach mindfulness, and it's about what works for you, for sure. And all of these goes for what works for you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like thinking through what you want that to look like and what you value in your life.
Absolutely. Well, our last one is occupational. And this really emphasizes on the importance of finding meaning and rewarding work that empowers a well-balanced personal life. Occupational wellness includes valuing lifelong learning, developing critical thinking skills, and seeking to learn and develop new skills. I always say that, I spend more time at work than with my family, waking hours, right? So you should always really love what you do as a career. Otherwise, you should find something else. I'm pretty bold about that, but I really do believe it. Like, you don't want to come to work for 30, 40 years and not be happy. So I think that's really important to be able to find your meaning. And that's kind of, once again, kind of goes back to mindful, right? Like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose in life? And what empowers you to come to work every day? And I think once someone loses that, they need to maybe go back to that mindful and maybe kind of figure that out. But really just, that lifelong learning, I think, is so great. Whether it's like playing Sudoku or, going to trivia night or, whatever, taking a class just to take a class, being part of webinars and listening to podcasts like this. Think of all the stuff you're learning today, hopefully. But I do think that it's not just, I think when we say occupational, I know we struggled with this, right? When we were like, what should we call this portion of wellness and well-being? We really went with occupational because we feel like it is something that's kind of lifelong learning, right?
Yeah. And we considered too, if you're a student right now and maybe your full time is dedicated to being a student, well, that is your occupation. You are a student and you are here to learn. And so making sure that you're, taking classes that you're engaged in, you're engaged in the materials, you're finding ways to really be excited about what you're learning and find ways to be passionate about, like the fact that you're here being a student right now.
Absolutely.
So I think a really great resource for that occupational wellness is the Office of Career Development. They've been doing a lot of work to just kind of promote what they have to offer. I know we did a previous episode with someone from the Office of Career Development. And so looking into what they have to offer there, speaking with them, they'll help you do practice interviews. They'll review your resume. Really check out the resources they have because they have some really wonderful resources.
They even have an inventory, which I think is neat to kind of, if you're not quite sure what you want to do for your major, you get in and you're like, I just don't know if this is my right path. They have a little inventory you can take that maybe shows your strengths and your passions and helps lead you maybe in an area. It won't say that you're going to be a teacher or a doctor or blah, 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 but it'll be like, this is your skill set, and these are some occupations that, will help flourish those skill sets. And I think that's a pretty neat thing to do, too, because it's okay. Like, the first thing people say when you come to, like, oh, what's your major? What are you going to do for the rest of your life? And it's like, I'm 18 years old. I don't know. I'm not 18. And sometimes I'm thinking, oh, what else do I want to do with the rest of my life? And that's okay, right? So, yeah, it's we've got a great office here on campus to help with that. So.
And I'd add, too, the Extension office for our faculty and staff, and just for everyone in general, even the community. I think they do a really wonderful job on that lifelong learning, right? There's always things that they have offered. I know they did a really wonderful financial wellness series over the spring semester and just offering up these things that, like, some of it I was like, oh man, I really wish I would have known this a lot sooner. But being able to join into those presentations, they also do some really fun, step challenges and physical activity challenges. So again, just challenging you to continue like learning more and developing those critical thinking skills.
Absolutely. Well, as you have heard here from Caitlin and I, with these 8 dimensions of wellness, how they really kind of come around together to really define that well-being as we defined at the beginning. And I'm going to read that just one more time. We define well-being as an optimal and dynamic state that allows people to achieve their full potential. So I hope today in this reflection of an overview of the 8 dimensions really kind of help bring together what well-being means for you as an individual.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to end it. I think just thinking forward, we have a lot of episodes coming out this semester that are going to be, again, continue down this line of supporting your overall well-being. If you have any recommendations, reach out. We'd love to hear some episodes if you have a topic that you're really passionate about. So we wanted to end with some processing questions for folks. So just to kind of summarize what we've learned today, maybe think through and really process what we talked about. What is one dimension of wellness that you would like to focus on improving in the next 30 days and why?
What are 2 strategies you could use to reach this goal? And what resources are available to support you with this goal?
Shari, thank you again so much for being here and for talking to me about well-being and wellness. I think, we're really passionate about it, so we could probably talk for a very long time, but I really appreciate you being here.
And you as well. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you for listening to this episode of State of Wellbeing, a podcast from South Dakota State University. This podcast is brought to you by the Mental Wellbeing Team and SD State Health.